I'm being told to do this. Elbows in to the ice. We're going to discuss the NHL. I'm here with Tony Bolduc and Demi Foley. Guys, there was a lot of action in Sunday's matchup between the Penguins and Flyers. Tony, what happened there?
What happened was we had a fight of Pennsylvania, actually. It was Pittsburgh versus Philadelphia. We had, with a minute left, just over a minute left, Vital hit Briere, and this just made a huge scuffle. Everyone was in each other's faces, including the two coaches, Laviolette and Bylsma. Laviolette was doing a balancing act they were both doing a balancing act on the benches, trying to argue at each other. It looked like they were going to jump over and start a cat fight with a brawl with each other, but that did not happen. But Laviolette was mad that Bylsma was playing the fourth line when he was playing his first line, which I don't think is right, because if it's anyone's fault, you shouldn't have your best players out on the ice when it's a 6-2 game with a minute left. I think it's more of Laviolette's fault than Bylsma's. And Laviolette was fined $10,000 for his actions in his balancing act, and this is going to lead to a big brawl between the Pennsylvania teams. They have a game Saturday actually, where they're going to be playing for home ice because they're going to be playing for the 4 and 5 seed, and they could be playing each other for 8 straight games if we include the playoff series, and it's just going to be a lot of playoff hockey and a lot of playoff atmosphere.
Okay, Tony, speaking of playoff atmosphere, you know, regular season's wrapping up. We kind of see the playoff seedings, how they're shaping up, teams that have strong records. Who do you think has the strongest division in the Western Conference?
On the West, I think the strongest division is the Kent Central Division, because they have at the top they have the Blues, which has great goaltending in Elliott. Also, they have the Red Wings, who have a great experienced forwards and defensemen, but they do have a young goaltender. Also, there's the Predators, who have great goaltending in Rene and a great defenseman. They also have the Blackhawks, which is a flashy young team, but they have had a lot of playoff experience, and all 4 of those teams are making the playoffs. So they're taking up a majority of the playoff spots. And then there's the Blue Jackets, where they have 61 points, and they're the worst team in the NHL. But that has nothing to do with any of the best of the Central. But definitely the Central takes the cake on who has the best teams.
One team shouldn't be a reflection on the rest of the division. But yeah, 4 playoff teams, you can't, can't argue that it's the strongest division. How about in the East, Demi? What do you think for the strongest division?
I'm going to go with the Atlantic Division. We have the Rangers, Penguins, Flyers, Devils, and the Islanders, which, the Islanders have struggled a little bit this season, but they do have a lot of young talent. And, the top 4 teams in the Atlantic Division are all already have clinched for the playoffs, so that's a pretty notable accomplishment. Also, too, just to touch a little bit on what Tony was saying, we have the Battle of Pennsylvania going on in this Atlantic Division itself. They're contributing huge to the game of hockey coming up on the playoff weekend, just because, they're creating such a great transition from the regular season into the playoff season. They, have added some fire to the game, and it's gonna be unbelievable. They're fighting for home field advantage, just as Tony was saying. So I think we're going to see great things from them. Also, too, the Rangers, arguably the best team in the league right now. They've been at the top of the Eastern Conference throughout the season. Also, too, Malkin on the Penguins, he's top in points right now, and also, too, Sidney Crosby is arguably the best player in the league. So we have a lot of great players. Hedberg just had a shutout with the Hurricanes for the Devils. So all of these teams are pulling out some great talent and are some of the most competitive in the league right now. So I definitely think the Atlantic Division is the strongest, and they're only proving that as we go into the playoffs, especially with what Tony was talking about with, the Flyers and the Penguins. They're definitely exemplifying great hockey skill and talent. So I'm definitely feeling the Atlantic Division right now. Joe.
Okay, Demi, while you were speaking, you mentioned fighting for advantage. In the Eastern Conference, the 8th seed in the playoffs is still up for grabs. We actually talked about this a week ago, and a week later, there's still no progress with Buffalo and Washington duking it out for that last spot. Yeah. Tony, who do you think is going to get that last spot?
In the West, I think that the last spot will be, it's going to come down between the Coyotes, the Sharks, and the Stars. The Coyotes are leading right now in 7th place with 91 points, and they're sitting pretty. They do play the Blue Jackets as their last game, so they have, well, not their last game, but if they do beat the Blue Jackets, they will clinch. So they have a pretty easy road, even though the Blue Jackets have won 3 straight. The two teams that are in big contention for the 8th seed, though, are the Sharks and the Stars. They play each other tonight for to get that 8th seed, even though they do have more games to advance. But if the Stars and the Sharks and the Coyotes all have 91 points, the Stars would have the tiebreaker and take the 7th seed, and the Sharks and the Coyotes would have the 8th seed, and the Sharks would be eliminated. But there's still a couple more games to go for each team, and I think that the final two teams will be the Sharks and the Coyotes, because I think that both of them have the easiest road, and I think the Sharks will take down the Stars tonight.
Okay. Demi, how about that Buffalo-Washington matchup?
All right, so right now we have the bottom three. We have Ottawa sitting at 7th. They're looking pretty solid. It's predicted that they're going to see the Bruins first round of the playoffs, so I'm pretty confident that they're going to stay at 7th. Then we have Washington at 8th and the Sabres at 9th. Now, last week, Katie and I got a little aggressive. I was arguing for the Sabres. I'm still a big fan of them. I do want them to, pull above the Washington Capitals and get that 8th seed. I definitely think they have the heart. However, they're going to need sort of the perfect scenario to get that 8th spot. Right now, even if they do simply tie the Capitals, they will still fall in 9th place, simply because they have more overtime losses. However, if the Capitals let their game slip a little, they start losing, the Sabres stay on top. It's definitely possible. So I'm definitely rooting for the Sabres to pull up on that 8th seed, but it's kind of up in the air right now, so we'll definitely see about that. But I am still sticking by the Sabres like I was last week.
Okay. If I had to put my 2 cents in that Buffalo-Washington matchup, I'm going to root for Washington, because believe it or not, I'm not going to name drop, but playing the degrees of separation game, a friend of a relative of a friend, the spouse of a relative of a friend, plays on the Capitals. So I would like to see him and his team succeed. So, best of luck to them. But, yeah, anything else to add, guys? No other news in the NHL?
Stamkos going for 60. Look out for him.
Woo-hoo.
That's a big mark for a goal scorer.
Okay, well, we'll watch out for that. Thanks, guys. When we come back, we will discuss the NBA. Stay with us.